Former President Donald Trump's former press secretary, Stephanie Grisham, is continuing to spill the tea over her time during the White House. So the latest topic to come out from her book, and there's a lot of stuff. There's been an info dump today. There's been many
dumps,
and some of them are
big, massive dumps.
So we've got that. Talking about that. Thankfully, this will not be about actual dumps, because I know there's a related story. But no. This is actually about the president's constant temper tantrums and what was used to quell them. So now, in other accounts from former staffers, you may have heard some of these before throughout the years. They would talk about how he'd throw massive fits over negative or not positive enough news coverage. In fact, we know that he's Fox News president, addicted to cable TV, didn't actually care about his job whatsoever. And so he would get angry. He'd get very, very mad. And he'd yell and he'd smash tables, apparently, allegedly, right? And so now some of it might have been for the cameras. Donald Trump's a showman, first and foremost. But it turns out, no, according to Grisham, most of it was actually real and scary. In fact, Trump biographer Timothy L. O'Brien told Politico once that the hissy fits are, quote, standard operating procedure for Trump, saying the bad temper is real. But he can feign outrage when needed, usually when he feels he's been embarrassed publicly, and then he wants to invite the world to share his pain. Yes. Oh, sharing that pain. Oh, please, everybody feel bad for the most powerful man in the entire United States. Isn't that sad? Isn't that both sad and pathetic? Like, oh, please feel bad for me. Me, who's been rich his entire life, who's always had everything handed to me from daddy, even though I am such a great and horrible disappointment to my entire family and family name. Somehow, you, regular people, normal human beings who have to work your ass off, should feel sorry for me because somebody, God forbid, said something mean about me on cable TV. Oh, the humanity. Please feel sorry for me. Oh, it's so sad. Oh God, it's pathetic. Now, in this case, Grisham backs that up in her book. Here's what she writes. When I began to see how his temper wasn't just for shock value or the cameras, I began to regret my decision to go to the West Wing. So just to point out how terrible Stephanie Grisham also is, by the way, this is somebody who was press secretary, didn't do any press conferences whatsoever, just completely just ducked out, avoided everything. Well, she said, or I'm sorry, not she said, but she apparently had no regrets up until that time. And by the way, that time, I mean, like, Donald Trump getting mad, of course, and then, of course, January 6th, she just actually decided to leave. But she had no regrets up until then. I mean, this is after being a part of the incredibly racist campaign Trump had ran to become president in the first place. The disgusting things that he said, the disgusting things that came out about him during the campaign, none of that fazed her whatsoever. Until then. Until, of course, it affected her. And, of course, not just her, but, as I mentioned before, numerous staffers throughout his term said the same thing. And so, of course, she's not a good person. And understand that what she's saying, look, is, I believe her, ostensibly true. That doesn't make her a good person. And you also have to remember that. You have to remember that this is a person who, yes, by the way, has stories to tell, because she was the consummate insider. The insider of insiders. And that's going to be relevant later on in the story when I give you Trump's response. But it's just to show you who we're dealing with. And I think, because normally you would hear somebody who, is this kind of person, who is a terrible person, say these types of things, and that's a reason to discount them, right? In this case, no, it's actually more of a reason to believe them. So, I'm just saying, like, I do believe her because it's not just coming from her, but it's also coming from other people who were in the administration who have similar stories. And so, by the way, she also wasn't fired. This is somebody who left because, oh, shit just got too real when January 6th happened. And so, as I said before, that was her line when it actually came to trying to overthrow the election. So, again, very important context, I think. So now, back to Trump. So the overarching theme here from this book is that Donald Trump can't handle embarrassment. Again, we already knew that, right? But he gets embarrassed. That's what happens. Gets embarrassed, flies into a rage, and usually it's a result of what he sees as unfair coverage, and that just means any coverage that does not kiss his ass. So now, unnamed staffers recounted to outlets like Politico and the Washington Post that they had to control the information that may infuriate him, a task made difficult by the fact that the leader of the free world gets bored and often likes to watch TV. So now we know what riles him up, but the new information from Grisham is about how they calmed him down. And this is what's really, really funny. At one point, Grisham writes in the book, Mr. Trump's handlers designated an unnamed White House official known as the Music Man to play him his favorite show tunes, including Memory from Cats, to pull him from the brink of rage, the Times reports. So, disclosure, I'm an uncultured person, so I've never seen Cats. Sorry. I just haven't. I've had absolutely no interest. Whatever. So I don't know what that song is. I don't know how that could possibly calm him down, but apparently, that's what worked. Oh, we're just Music Man. Donald Trump, the baby is getting too mad because CNN said something bad about him. Please, show tunes. Just play him something. Please. Okay. And that's what happened. Show tunes. Look, if anything, really kind of backs up the thing that we've been saying for quite some time, that he's a child, a baby, sad. It's that. So now who's the poor guy who ended up having to play the show tunes for him? Now, it turns out the aide was Grisham's ex-boyfriend, Max Miller. Max Miller apparently has his own history with anger problems. Very interesting. You know, there's something that's said about music soothes the savage beast or something like that. Well, apparently it didn't work in Max's case because Grisham and Miller had eventually broke up after he had allegedly pushed her up against a wall, slapped her in the face when she accused him of cheating. So there's personal drama here. Not going to go into that. Whatever. Now, what's interesting about that is that Miller is running for Congress in Ohio and has been endorsed by Donald Trump. Shocker. So, of course, hey, it's the Music Man. So he's going to be backed by Donald Trump, of course. And it was his job to distract the baby so that the baby didn't throw dinner everywhere or something. So a little bit more info on what it was like for Grisham. She also wrote that she was the target of Trump's sexual harassment while in the White House, and said that he once asked her if her boyfriend, the Music Man, was any good in bed. Now, that is something that I did not want to know, and now you had to know it. You're welcome. Disgusting. Now we can be disgusted together. Together. So let's get to the response. Trump spokesperson came out with this response. Of course, it's very Trumpian. Stephanie didn't have what it takes, and that was obvious from the beginning. She became very angry and bitter after a breakup, and as time went on, she was seldom relied upon or even thought about. We didn't even think about her. Yeah, I didn't even think about her. Coffee girl. Very bitter. She had big problems, and we felt that she should work out those problems for herself. Now, like everyone else, she gets paid by a radical left-leaning publisher to say bad and untrue things. What left-leaning publisher is he talking about? Politico is about as establishment as you can get. Washington Post, New York Times, same thing. It's all establishment legacy media, which is very hostile to the left, to progressives. I know. Anything that criticizes him lightly, or even, not even, you don't even have to criticize him, just comes out with things that he's actually said or was quoted about, or was quoted as saying, that's suddenly now left wing. Everything's radical left. They add, too bad sleazebag publishers continue to report this very boring garbage. We in the MAGA movement are totally used to it, and someday in the not too distant future, we will have our voice back and be treated fairly by the press. Now, once again, so what are you talking about, have your voice back? You mean getting back on Twitter, right? That's the ultimate thing. He wants back on Twitter so bad. So bad. Even though, what happened? There's all these conservative outlets, conservative social media. There's Gab. There's, what is it? Parler. I think they're back up. There's Frank Speech. You could go, sign up for that. What is Gitter? There's Gitter. There's all these different ones. But no. Donald Trump wants back on Twitter. That's what that's about. And of course, be treated fairly by the press. We're being treated so unfairly. You got billions of dollars in free media coverage, and you're going to complain about the press? All right, sure, gotcha. But here's the thing: is they're actually right when they say it's garbage. This whole story's garbage. It's the drums. But just because it's trash, don't mean it ain't true. Totally true. I do believe it. As I said before, this is the dirt. This is the dirt, and that entire administration was full of it. Just full of it. It was down in the muck. More so, I think, than any other administration. In the muck. And we're in the muck with them, apparently. But it's more confirmation, this story, that we were dealing with an unhinged man-child, which we knew. We knew. Calling her bitter and angry, Grisham, I mean, that's a strong case of projection. As I said before, she has got stories to tell. And yes, there is money to be made because there is a market here. And she gonna make a lot of money because guess what? There's a lot of people that want to know about this. It's the hot gossip. And while it is fun and pretty funny, and I enjoy it, getting into the muck here, we shouldn't forget this is the same person whose ego and temper tantrums did put the country in peril. They fueled an insurrection attempt and deepened the divides in this country even further than they were previously with these, ridiculous antics. And so, on a more serious note, I guess to end this, is that I think that there needs to be steps taken to prevent somebody like this, obviously got some issues, mental issues, from ever getting into office again. Now, what those would look like, I don't really know for sure. Unfortunately, I don't see anybody even attempting to figure out what that would even look like. And so, unfortunately, we're really not making any progress in preventing another Trump, or even Trump from running again and possibly winning. And so it feels like we've made absolutely no progress in that regard. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.